Hey everyone, it's Lena, and today I'm here with you to read an excerpt of Cookies and Crime. I know, the stupid glare. And to share what my family, likes to do for the holidays. I'll tell you, I've had a tickle in my throat. I've been drinking a lot of herbal tea instead of coffee, which is kind of an interesting new thing for me. I have been off caffeine for a couple months now. It was really messing with my sleep because I was drinking so much of it. So I still have decaf coffee in the morning, but I'm trying to mix it up with some different things as well. So here we go. Cookies and Crime. I balanced a tray of homemade cookies in one hand while I threw my purse over my shoulder, closed the car door with my foot, and used my free hand to hit the door lock on the key fob. I then placed my hand back onto the tray of 4 dozen painstakingly frosted and decorated Christmas cookies, lest they fall to the floor. Cradling my burden, I carefully walked into the community room at Romero Community Church, where the end-of-the-year Boy Scout Awards were being held. "Hey, Trixie, let me help you with that," Jean Sartor, the troop co-leader, said, reaching for the tray. "Thanks, Jean. I wouldn't want to drop these cookies. These boys would kill me," I said with a laugh. I was so impressed with myself that I had carried them in without dropping them. "That's probably true. The boys love their sweets, and I know they've been looking forward to these cookies since you made them last year. Can't say the same for Patricia's brownies. I had one earlier, and well, you know." Jean trailed off, eyeing my cookies like she might run off with them, which made me laugh. I went around the table that held the snacks and set my things down. Tonight, all the boys in the scout troop would be awarded with the badges they had earned throughout the year. Cody, my 10-year-old son, had been a scout for several years. It was an activity he loved to do with his dad and grandfather, who had been Boy Scouts before him. "Anything you need me to do to help set up?" I asked, putting my hands on my hips, ready to roll up my proverbial sleeves and get to work. Jean set the tray of cookies she had taken from me on the table. "I need to go find out where Dean is. He was supposed to be here an hour ago. If you could uncover your cookies and the brownies that Patricia dropped off, open up bags of chips and dump them in the bowl and mix up the punch, that would be great. I would hate for people to start getting here before the food is ready." "You don't want to keep the boys from their snacks, especially right after school. That might be dangerous," I laughed. Jean walked away to track down Dean, and I readied the dessert and snack table. Soon, boys and their parents started coming in. I knew everyone, since Romero was a small town, and most of the boys had been Boy Scouts together for multiple years. I got so engrossed in talking to one of the other mothers, I didn't realize it was 15 past the hour, which is when the awards were supposed to start, until Jean rushed in with a panicked look on her face. "Jean, what's wrong?" "I still can't get a hold of Dean. His phone goes to voicemail. They said he already left for work and there's no answer at the home phone. This isn't like him. You know how devoted he is to these boys. What if something happened?" I knew Jean to be a little bit dramatic and high-strung, but it was very unlike Dean to not show up without telling someone, especially his wife. Plus, Jean was right. Dean was committed to his duties as Boy Scout leader. He had been the troop leader for as long as Cody had been a Boy Scout, and I hadn't seen anyone as passionate about Scouts as Dean, not even my ex-father-in-law, Steve, which was saying a lot. He had been a troop leader himself for 10 years, when Jared, my ex-husband, was in the Scouts. You guys, my dog just turned on the space heater. I don't know how that happened. Sorry. "I'm sure he's fine," I said, trying to reassure Jean. "He could have gotten a flat tire on the way here. Maybe his phone died. Why don't you let me get everyone seated? You take a minute to calm yourself, and let's get the award show started. You know that's what Dean would want. He wouldn't want everyone to wait for him." Jean took a deep breath and looked a little calmer. At least she had stopped waving her hands around and pulling her hair. "You're right. Dr. Branson keeps telling me I need to stop overstressing. My blood pressure has been high. He has me on medication and keeps trying to get me to meditate or try yoga to relax, but neither of those things seem like me, so I haven't tried them." "You should. Yoga is very relaxing, and it's a great workout. You could go with me, Sally, and Cora sometime to try a class at the yoga studio. We usually go for a glass of wine after," I said enticingly, wanting Jean to calm down even more now that I knew about her high blood pressure. "Thank you, Trixie. I might just do that. Now, if you can go up on stage and get everyone to take a seat and make sure they have a cookie, I'll review my list of recipients. The badges are already up on stage," Jean said, smiling briefly, although it didn't quite make it to her eyes. I walked up to the makeshift stage. The room was small, which meant there was no need for a microphone, so I just raised my voice. Everyone, if you could have a seat, we'll get started. Please make sure you grab a cookie or brownie first. And I see Judy brought her scrumptious chocolate-covered caramel corn. I need you guys to eat all of it before I get a chance, I said, and the crowd chuckled, although I wasn't joking about the chocolate-covered caramel corn. Ever since Judy Colton had brought it to a scout banquet a few years ago, everyone clamored for her to make it for every event, which was usually the first thing to go. In a few short minutes, the scouts and their parents were sitting and happily munching away. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my ex-husband, who had brought Cody to the event. As usual, Jared was late. I stepped off stage, squeezing Jean's shoulder as she came up to take my place. Jean looked much calmer, almost blissful, and I felt happy that I had been able to help in even a small way. I had to hand it to her. She really had settled down in the few minutes she'd been gone. Thanks, Trixie, for getting everyone settled. She turned to the room. I'm Jean Sartor, although you probably all know who I am. She laughed nervously from her place on stage. I am the co-leader with Dean, and I am also his wife. Dean is unable to make it, so we are going to go ahead and get started. The first badge I want to award is for backpacking. Over the next 30 minutes, Jean went through the list of boys and their badges. The room was full of excitement, and I was thrilled to see the proud looks on the boys and their parents' faces, including my own son Cody, who got his archery merit badge. I had been incredibly nervous when he told me he wanted to achieve that one. I felt like he was a little too young for a bow and arrow, but he turned out to be very good, and more important, very careful. And we have one last award. Whew! All this standing is getting to me. Let me just grab this chair, Jean said, as she struggled to move the chair to the center of the stage and sat down. She all of a sudden looked exhausted. Okay, that's better. Now, this isn't an official scout badge per se, but an award Dean started a few years ago for the most improved scout. Oftentimes, our boys get frustrated because they don't feel they are catching on as quickly as their peers. But what they learn, and what Dean tries to preach, is that through hard work and focus, anything is possible. So I would like to recognize Tyler Henley for Most Improved Scout. Jean stood from her chair, beaming a trophy in her hand, as a scrawny 10-year-old Tyler started to make his way up to the stage. He had a contagious grin from ear to ear, and everyone started clapping. I was too, until I noticed Jean just dropped the trophy with a loud thud. The crowd reacted with a collective gasp as Jean fell to the floor. Since I was closest to the stage, I rushed to Jean. Jean, I said, and shook her lightly, but Jean was completely unresponsive. Someone call 911. I don't think she's breathing. So there you go. Find out what happens to Jean by reading the rest of Cookies and Crime. So thank you guys for being with me for that chapter 1 of Cookies and Crime. It's part of the Christmas Cozy Collection, where there is Mistletoe and Murder, Cookies and Crime, A Christmas Caper, and Holiday Lights Out, all in one box set. So if you haven't picked that up, you can definitely do that and read along with us, or read along with me, everyone else, next week as I read an excerpt from A Christmas Caper. Now, the other thing I wanted to share is what my family likes to do with the holidays. You know, growing up, I was an only child, and I was an only child of an only child. So on my mom's side, like, we were it. And my dad was actually the youngest of 6, but there were 10 years between him and the next sibling. So that kind of made all the other grandkids on that side also much older than me. So I was really spoiled. Christmas Eve, both sets of grandparents would come over. We would go to Christmas Eve service, which I absolutely loved. Come back. There would be presents from the family, not from Santa, under the tree. We would get to open a couple presents. We'd have snack food. I don't know why this is what really sticks out in my head, but the snack food, ham roll-ups, bologna and cheese, you know, real good 70s and 80s snack food, Jell-O molds, the whole 9 yards. At the end of the day, my grandparents would go home. Luckily, they lived pretty close, and then be back bright and early. And you know, when I was little, they always made it back to the house before I woke up, which, you know how quick and early kids wake up on Christmas? I don't know how they did it. But then all of Santa's presents would be there. And I would open up Santa's presents. Of course, you know, play, try them on, entertain my family in ways I probably thought I was just so delightful. And then we would have a great breakfast brunch. And both my grandmothers were excellent cooks. The brunch would be amazing. And then we would just relax through the rest of the day. And then I also remember watching The Nutcracker on PBS every year. Mikhail Baryshnikov, Kesley Birkeland, absolutely amazing. Started my love for The Nutcracker as well, which is now a yearly tradition. Through the years, things have pretty much stayed the same. We do snacks and a couple presents on Christmas Eve, and then Santa brings things on Christmas Day. Now that my kids, the youngest one's 15, and they no longer believe in Santa, we open one gift on Christmas Eve, then open the rest on Christmas Day, which is just a fun way to prolong it. I will say one other thing. My mom, her birthday was December 26th. So when I was really little, I would get presents all 3 days because I was too young to understand why she got a present the day after Christmas and I didn't. And, I should have milked that for a lot longer than I did. But, sometimes you just have to be a bigger person. All right, you guys, I would love to hear from you in the comments what kind of great traditions you have surrounding Christmas. And see, there might be some new ones I might want to try. Start with my own family. All right, thank you. Have a great rest of your week.